So this is going to be the second day of substitution. So if you need help on your worksheet, you can look at these, and it should give you the step-by-step on how to solve each of the problems. So here's our first one. Substitution we can only use if x or y is completely by itself. So in one of the problems, x or y has to be by itself. So in this situation, it looks like we have y by itself. So wherever I see a y, I can substitute this in because they should equal each other. So I'm going to plop this in for y since y represents the same thing. So I'm going to get negative 2x minus 3. Replace y with whatever y is, equals negative 7. So now we got to distribute this negative 3. It's a negative 3. Don't distribute a positive 3. So we got negative 2x minus 18x. Negative 3 times negative 1 is a positive 3. Negative 2x minus 18x, since they're on the same side, you do as it says, so it's negative 20x plus 3 equals negative 7. Subtract 3. Negative 7 minus 3 is negative 10. Divide both sides by negative 20. So I got x to equal 1/2. Okay, so I have x, but now I need to find y. So I'm going to look at the equation that looks like it's already y by itself, so all I have to do is plug that x in wherever I see it. So I'm going to get y equals 6 times whatever my x is, minus 1. 6 times 1/2 is 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. So my answer is 1/2 2. Okay, this one we have y by itself, so I'm going to plug this in wherever I see a y. So I'm going to get 5x minus 4 times whatever I plug that y in to be, so negative 3x plus 5. Remember, whenever you plug something in, you plug it in with parentheses. If you don't, there's a good possibility you're going to get it wrong. Okay, because now we got to distribute this negative 4. Again, it's a negative, not a positive. So 5x, negative 4 times negative 3x is a positive 12x. Negative 4 times a positive 5 is negative 20. 5x plus 12x, since they're on the same side, we do as it says. So 17x minus 20 equals negative 3. We add 20 to both sides. 17x is equal to 17. Divide by 17. So right now we got x to equal 1. So now we got to find y. So the easiest one to put it into is where y is already by itself. So we're going to get y equals negative 3 times whatever my x is that I just found, plus 5. So negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Negative 3 plus 5 is 2. So my point is 1, 2. That means if I graph both those lines, it's going to intersect at 1, 2. Okay, y is by itself in this one, so I can replace this wherever I see a y. Remember, put it in with parentheses. Now I distribute a negative 3, so I got 2x minus 3x. Negative 3 times a negative 1 is a positive 3. 2x minus 3x is negative x. Subtract 3 from both sides, so negative x equals negative 4. Negative 1. So I got x equal 4. So now I can plug it back in for x, so y equals 4 minus 1, so y equals 3. So that means those intersect at 4, 3. Okay, y is by itself in this, so I'm going to put this in for y, and I'm going to put it in with parentheses. So negative 5x minus 17 is equal to 3. Distribute negative 3, so I got negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 5 is a positive 15x. Negative 3 times negative 17 is positive 51. Negative 3x plus 15x is 12x. Subtract 51, so 12x equals negative 48. Divide by 12. So we got x to be negative 4. So now let's plug it back in with y by itself. So we're going to get y equals negative 5 times negative 4 minus 17. Negative 5 times negative 4 is 20. 20 minus 17 is 3. So they intersect at negative 4, 3. Okay, so y equals -2, so wherever I see a y, I'm going to plop in -2, so I'm going to get 4x minus 3 times -2 equals 18. So 4x, -3 times -2 is a positive 6. We subtract 6, so 4x equals 12. Divide by 4. We have x to equal 3, and we already found y, so my point is 3, -2. Okay, I don't have x or y by itself, so I want to look at the problems and try to figure out which one would be easier to get one by itself. It looks like this y would be pretty easy to get by itself because all we have to do is add 4x over. So let's go ahead and do that. So we got y equals 6 plus 4x. Okay, now I can replace this in for y. Remember to put it in with parentheses. So I'm going to get -5x minus, I replace that y with 6 plus 4x equals 21. I have to distribute a negative this time, so we can make it a -1 to make it easier. So it's going to be -6 minus 4x, because it just flips my signs. -5x minus 4x is -9x. We can add 6. -9x equals 27. Divide by -9. So x equals -3. Now I need to plug it back in, so I can plug it into either of my equations and solve to find y. I'm going to plug it into this one because it looks easier. So I'm going to do y equals 6 plus 4 times -3, because that's what we found x to be. So y equals 6 minus 12, because 4 times -3 is -12. 6 minus 12 is -6. So my point is -3, -6. Okay, it looks like I have to get x or y by itself. It looks like this x would be easy because I wouldn't have to divide anything. It'd be pretty easy to get by itself. All we have to do is add 2y. So it's going to become x equals 11 plus 2y. So now wherever I see an x, I'm going to plop it in with my parentheses. So -7, let's do that higher. -7 times 11 plus 2y minus 2y, do not forget about the end here, equals -13. Distribute, so -7 times 11 is -77. -7 times positive 2y is -14y. We still have our minus 2y and our -13. So -77, -14y minus 2y is -16y. Add 77 to both sides. So -16y equals 64. Divide by -16. So y equals -4. Let's plug it back into my original so we could just find x pretty quickly. So I got x equals 11 plus 2 times -4. X equals 11 minus 8. So x equals 3. So my point is 3, -4. Okay, x looks like it could be pretty easy here because there's no number in front. To get by itself, we just need to subtract 3y. So I'm going to get x equals 1 minus 3y. So wherever I see an x, I'm going to replace it with that 1 minus 3y. So I'm going to get -3 times 1 minus 3y minus 3y, because we can't forget about it, equals -15. Distribute. -3 times 1 is -3. -3 times -3y is 9y. We still have that minus 3y. So 9y minus 3y is 6y. Add 3. So 6y equals -12. Divide by 6. So we got y equals -2. So now I got to plug that in wherever I see a y. So if we plug it into this, we got x equals 1 minus 3 times -2. So x equals 1 plus 6. X equals 7. So my point is 7, -2.